Trump's victory marked a pivotal turning point in America, reshaping the lives of millions, especially the Filipino community living across the country. As immigration policies tightened, living costs soared, and opportunities for work and stability dwindled, many Filipino families found themselves caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty. Cities that once felt like safe havens are now grappling with the harsh realities of economic strain, rising hostility, and lack of support. For Filipinos, the dream of a better life in the U.S. has been overshadowed by new challenges, and the harsh truth is, many cities that once welcomed them are now hostile environments, making everyday life harder to navigate. In this video, we dive deep into the 5 worst cities for Filipinos in America post-Trump's win, revealing the shocking reasons why these once thriving communities may no longer be safe to call home. Stay with us as we uncover the truth about life for Filipinos in the U.S. after these dramatic changes. 5. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona, has become an increasingly difficult place for Filipino residents following the stricter immigration laws and heightened border security implemented under Trump's policies. The state has closely followed Trump's national emergency declaration, which has led to more frequent immigration checks and a higher risk of deportation. Many Filipinos who had been in the city for years, some even with families, are now living in constant fear of separation. The community that once felt like home is now marked by anxiety and tension, as families are unsure whether they'll be targeted by immigration authorities. To make matters worse, the Trump administration has slashed crucial assistance programs, further exacerbating the struggles faced by immigrant communities. Services like healthcare, housing, education, and welfare are harder to access, leaving many Filipino families without the support they desperately need. With fewer resources available and an environment that feels increasingly hostile, many Filipinos in Phoenix are questioning their future in the city. The hope for stability has rapidly faded, and families are now considering relocating to cities with more immigrant-friendly policies. But the uncertainty of the future is making that decision even more difficult. 4. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, once a diverse and welcoming city, has seen an alarming rise in discrimination and anti-immigrant sentiment, heavily influenced by Trump's rhetoric. His administration's harsh stance on immigration has created an environment where racial bias is more prevalent, particularly in suburban neighborhoods. Filipinos who once found safety and support in their communities are now facing increasing hostility. Many report feeling unwelcome and targeted simply for their ethnic background, making everyday activities like going to work or sending children to school increasingly stressful. This atmosphere of fear has led to a significant decline in the sense of belonging for Filipino families. Representation in public offices is also dwindling, which means Filipino voices have less influence when it comes to decision-making on important policies. With fewer advocates for immigrant rights, securing necessary resources or support is becoming increasingly challenging. As the Filipino community struggles to maintain its foothold in Atlanta, many are questioning whether this city, which once felt like a place of opportunity, is still worth staying in. The combination of rising discrimination and diminishing political influence is pushing many families to consider leaving for better prospects in more inclusive cities. 3. Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida, has long been a beacon for immigrant communities, but under Trump's administration, it has become a challenging environment for many Filipinos. The increased presence of the Coast Guard and Border Patrols has made it significantly more dangerous for undocumented immigrants to live without the constant fear of being detained or deported. For many Filipinos, simply going out in public or seeking necessary services has become a risk they are no longer willing to take. This fear has created an atmosphere of anxiety within the Filipino community, leading to feelings of isolation and helplessness. What was once a thriving community is now one that lives in the shadows, unsure of how to navigate the future. In addition to the fear of deportation, the reduction in public services has made it even more difficult for Filipino families to thrive in Miami. Trump's America First policies have resulted in severe cuts to crucial programs that provide healthcare, education, housing, and social services for immigrants. As resources disappear, Filipino families are left struggling to meet basic needs, and many are considering relocating to states with more immigrant-friendly policies. The city that once felt like a land of opportunity is now filled with uncertainty, and for many, Miami no longer feels like home. 2. Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas, once a place of hope and opportunity for many Filipinos, has become increasingly challenging due to Trump's restrictive economic and immigration policies. The job market has tightened, with many companies now prioritizing U.S. citizens over immigrants when hiring. Trump's America First policies have contributed to this trend, making it harder for Filipino workers to secure stable jobs. As a result, many families in Dallas are struggling to make ends meet, having to scale back on basic expenses in order to survive. The once thriving Filipino community, known for its work ethic and entrepreneurial spirit, is now facing a more difficult path, as financial stability seems increasingly out of reach. On top of the economic pressure, anti-immigrant sentiment is on the rise in Dallas. The atmosphere in neighborhoods and workplaces has become more hostile, with Filipinos reporting more instances of discrimination and exclusion. The city, once known for its diversity, now feels less welcoming to many immigrants. With fewer job opportunities and rising discrimination, many Filipinos are beginning to question whether Dallas is still the place they once envisioned as home. For some, relocating to cities with more immigrant-friendly policies is becoming an increasingly attractive option. 1. Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas, has been hit hard by a combination of rising living costs and diminishing federal support, making it one of the most challenging cities for Filipinos to live in under Trump's administration. The cost of living in Houston has skyrocketed, with rents, utilities, and groceries becoming increasingly expensive. Many Filipino families who once enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle are now finding it difficult to keep up with the rising costs, forcing them to make tough decisions about their future. Job opportunities that once offered financial stability are no longer enough to cover basic expenses, and many families are struggling to make ends meet. The economic strain has created a sense of instability, and for many Filipinos, the dream of a better future in Houston is slowly slipping away. In addition to the financial pressures, Houston is also highly vulnerable to natural disasters like hurricanes. But under Trump's administration, disaster relief has become increasingly inadequate. With a focus on border security rather than aid for communities in need, the city is finding it harder to recover after devastating events. The Filipino community in Houston is feeling abandoned, as emergency response efforts are slower and the resources available for rebuilding are limited. As a result, many Filipinos are considering leaving Houston in search of a better life elsewhere, where they can feel safer and more secure. The combination of rising costs, fewer job opportunities, and inadequate disaster relief has made Houston a place of uncertainty and fear for many Filipino families. These cities, once full of hope and opportunity for the Filipino community, have now become places of struggle, marked by rising costs, fewer resources, and increasing discrimination. Many Filipino families are being pushed to the brink, facing the hard decision of whether to stay and fight for a better future or relocate to a more immigrant-friendly environment. The impact of Trump's policies has left these communities feeling vulnerable and uncertain, with no clear path forward. For many Filipinos, the cities they once called home are no longer a safe haven, and the dream of building a better life has become increasingly difficult to achieve.